Evening all and welcome back to From the Terrace by the fans
For the
for the
fans.
fans. And as ever, joining me, Dan Welton, my trusty three, Penfold, Connor Hack,
Certainly, mate.
your favourite in-betweener, Jay McAnally,
Completed it, mate.
and Dan Wiltshire, aka Lineker's Diapers. And today we're going to do something slightly different. Instead of digging out each other's teams and talking about the big six in the Premier League, we're going to be talking about a team that's gone under the radar. 12 months ago, got absolutely slammed 9-0 by Leicester.
Oh, you got me.
But the trust in Huston Hootle have now seen them third and could go top tonight. So getting straight into it, boys. Southampton, this time last year, probably odds on favourite to get relegated. Huston Hootle probably next out of the job. Talk about the job he's done and how he's been able to improve not just the team but the squad, especially looks like sort of Danny Ings. He's also improved Ward-Prowse amongst many others.
Yeah, brilliant. Like you say, 9-0, probably around this time last year, wasn't it? Close to. Battered by Leicester. Yeah, you say looked like it was the next one out the door. And then from that moment on, really, they didn't really look back. It kind of like it flicked a switch in them. I think once you go through that kind of embarrassment, it was at home, wasn't it? Was it at home they lost?
Yeah, it was home, yeah.
Absolute battering. And, I think once that happened, I think it kind of just gave them a kick up the arse and kind of got things moving at the club properly. And then from that moment on, they were brilliant. Danny Ings turned into a world-class striker. Was brilliant the whole season. Has continued that way this year. Is unfortunate to get injured. Players stepped up. Ward-Prowse looked good. Midfield started working hard. The defence was really good. And he kind of got his ideas across in the end. The pressing game, and obviously showed why he was such a respected manager in Germany. He's not didn't become a bad manager overnight. I think it just takes sometimes a little while to get into the Premier League. It's not an easy league to come into and find hit the ground running. So I thought he was good. I thought they've been really good, and they've continued it like this season. They've got a chance to go top this evening if they win tonight, and they're currently ahead. So who knows what's going to happen there? But yeah, brilliant. Can't give them enough praise.
Their owners deserve a lot of credit for sticking with him after most teams get battered 9-0, and the manager's under some serious pressure from that point. But the owners pretty much come out straight away and was like, no, like he's our man. We chose him for a reason. It's a bad result, but they've stuck with him and given him time to implement his ideas, which is what you want for most managers that get jobs at clubs. A lot of managers get sacked after a bad run of results without really being given a chance to turn it around themselves. And although if you're a fan of that club, sometimes it can be hard when you're going through those tough times and you might think a change is for the best. Personally, I think that sticking with who you've got in charge and giving them a chance to implement their ideas is probably the best way forward. And I think Southampton are proof of that now. They lost Højbjerg as well in the summer, their captain last year. Everyone was looking at them thinking they might still struggle, but they brought in some decent players. Romeu stepped up again, playing well in midfield with Ward-Prowse. Vestergaard's coming at the back. He's an absolute monster of a person, but last year he just didn't look very good, but he looks like a great defender from what we've seen so far this year. And McCarthy in goal. He was written off by a lot of people, written off by Palace as not being very good. And he's gone into Southampton and he seems to be turning in decent results and playing well again.
What did you say there, Connor? They did lose Højbjerg, but a couple of years ago, they were losing all their best players literally every summer. It wasn't just one or two, it'd be 3 or 4 going out the door. And then, youngsters like Callum Chambers were going out. Whereas now they've kind of found, most of them to Liverpool, exactly. And now look at them, Champions of Europe and England. But, they'd lose so many players and every year they would always almost maintain it. And then once they lost, almost our whole bulk and they were left with quite a depleted squad. Connor, you said there, they went on a bad run. They switched and changed managers a bit. And then after losing 9-0, you'd probably think that's probably them done for the Premier League. But for them to rebuild it and then to almost have not only players who were probably there when it was all going down, Romeu, another one like Ward-Prowse, have really upped their game. And I think people like Ward-Prowse probably do deserve, not just an England call-up, but maybe just a start. Because from set pieces, he looks absolutely fantastic. 2 free kicks last weekend. His corner taking looks amazing. Arguably one of the best in the Premier League when it comes to corners. And his box-to-box game is all there as well. It's not that he goes missing. So there is an argument there. He could replace, Harry Winks for in the England starting 11. What would you boys think of that?
I've always loved Ward-Prowse. Not even when Southampton weren't a great side, I always thought he was the next one to come out of their team that would probably get a big move. Not just his set pieces, which you're right, he probably is one of the best in the Premier League when it comes to free kicks and corners and whatnot. But I think his overall game is really good. He works hard. Like you said, he's box to box. He puts challenges in. He gets enough assists in that team considering the amount of goals that they score. And I think now, where he's got the armband and he is now the captain, I feel like he's taken his game to another level. He's stepped up and taken that responsibility, and now he's the one that wants to try and drag the team through games and keep them on this sort of good run. They'll lose games. There's no doubt about it. But I think when you've got someone like that in your team who's been at the club for a while, leading you through it, I think that he could go on and have a very good career.
Do you think they'll drop form or anything now? Oh, sorry, Jay. I was just going to talk about Danny Ings' injury, as Dan just mentioned. How bad do you think that will, suffer them? Will they start to go down on that trajectory that we were just talking about, or do you think Che Adams could potentially step up to the mark this year?
Well, I mean, a point that Dan makes very well, very often, is that momentum's a big thing in football, and right now Southampton have got momentum behind them. So, yes, losing Ings for a month is definitely going to be a setback. You're losing a 20-goal a season striker. Last year showed that, and this year, as Dan said again, he's gone into the start of the league on good form. So I think, I think they've got a chance. Their fixtures on paper, obviously football's not played on paper, but their fixtures don't look too bad. And they're on form. Ward-Prowse is playing well. He's benefiting from getting a run in his preferred position, I think. One signing none of the boys mentioned, which I really like, is Kyle Walker-Peters, which has allowed Hassan Hüttel to put Ward-Prowse into the centre where he prefers to be, whereas previously he's been filling in on the right, playing right wing back, right back. He's had to sort of do that job because they've not had that player. But Walker-Peters is a good young signing, and it's kind of masked the loss of Højbjerg. So it's been a good start for them. We'll see if they can continue it.
I think it's a testament to the manager, because usually if a team loses 9-0, that's pretty much you losing the dressing room. People lose faith. They can down tools, and you see people don't want to play for the manager anymore. But it was a completely different thing at Southampton. They lost 9-0 and completely turned it around. So it shows, obviously, the players have got a lot of respect for that manager. They want to play for him. They obviously believe in what he's trying to do at the club. It shows now. And when you give someone a bit of time, it just proves what you can do at a club. How many times, in the past, people have been sacked straight away after a couple of bad results. But give someone a bit of time to put their ideas into place, to get a team into place that's theirs, not someone that they've inherited and just had to just sort of put it together and hope that results come. Give them time. I think that's something that's starting to creep in a little bit into the league, a little bit more, giving people a little bit more time, not with the lower clubs, but it seems like an idea of looking at Klopp, looking at Pep Guardiola and saying, okay, well, maybe you have got to give people time, because give them a chance to build something. It could be special. Klopp's perfect example. So I think he's brilliant.
They called him the Austrian Klopp, don't they?
Sorry,
they call Hassan Hüttel the Austrian Klopp. That's what he's known. His nickname is to a lot of people in Germany, and you can kind of see that from the way he set Southampton up and the way they play. I know it's a different formation, but the whole pressing from the front, the intensity, they're always in your face this season, Southampton, it seems. And watching some of their games, it just looks like almost like they've sort of got the fitness aspect of it is now where it needs to be. They all understand their jobs during a game, each player individually, but as a team, they know to press from the front. And as soon as one person goes, it triggers the next person to go. And you can see that now starting to come into how they're playing. So, I think, like you said, giving him time was perfect for them.
Word is a good example. He speaks quite highly of him. And you can see that in his game, what he does on the pitch. He's constantly pressing from the front. He's obviously brought that with him from Leipzig, where he played under him. So, it must be, he speaks very highly of him. So he must be doing the same, right? Because Werner's a top player, and got a lot of respect for him. So.
And where do we think realistically they could be aiming this season? Because the early games just suggested it could be a mad season. It's almost reset in the last few weeks with Everton and Villa kind of showing their form of old. Are Southampton just still riding the wave right now, or do we think they've got a legitimate chance of top 10?
Potentially top 10. I don't see him pushing European places, if I'm honest. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, that we think as the season goes on, normality will resume in terms of the bigger clubs going to the top. So, yeah, who knows this year, man? I don't see him pushing Europe, but yeah, definitely top 10.
One thing about Southampton is, and Everton, which I just said, they had an impressive result against them the other week. One in which where Luca Dean, he was sent off for a cynical, challenge or stamp on Walker Peters, which resulted in a red card. The referees then went away midweek and said that actually, no, we're going to reduce it from, after an appeal, from 3 down to 1. Now, no one's come out from Stockley Park, no one's come out from the FA or Referee Association to say why that was. For me, it looks a bit unjust that it has been appealed and the appeal was won. It did look dirty at the time. When I look back at it now, it does look malicious. Why aren't the referees coming out and saying this is the reason why? And not just that type of example, but if the referee makes a decision mid-game, why don't they come out after the game? Should they be coming out after the game and saying this is why I gave that decision? Should they be protected by the FA so much?
Was Dino on a yellow card when he made the challenge, but he got a straight red?
I don't know if he was on a yellow card, but he was.
He was given a straight red anyway.
It was a straight red, yeah.
So I don't understand if they've appealed it, how the number of games has just been reduced, because they're still obviously saying that what he did was a foul and was enough to cause a red card.
Yeah.
So why does he not have to fulfil the 3-game ban?
It's either 3 games or none.
It doesn't make sense.
Mm. Yeah.
Unless, as you say, he was on a yellow and they're saying, well, it should have been a second yellow, which would then be 1 game.
1 game, yeah.
Maybe. Well, we'd have to look at that. But even if that is the case, like, it's just stupid.
Can they do that? Can they say, well, it should have been, so we're going to reduce it? They don't go, well, that should have been a goal. We're going to give it to you and you get the points. It doesn't really make sense.
That's what
I think that's why the appeal system's there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you turn around and say, well, we made the incorrect decision, let's rectify it. I don't think that's a problem. As long as you're sort of coming out and explaining it. But the thing is, at the moment, is what I've been trying to say for ages, is that why can't referees come out at the end of the game and explain the decisions, or explain sort of, I know it's a whole case of, their authority and they shouldn't have to come out and say that, but they get so much stick for it and there's so much uproar every week regarding it and the decisions they're making. I don't see how it would harm just to come out and just say, this is how I come to this decision. This is what I thought at the time. And that's the way it was, instead of sort of just hiding away and getting away with it almost, because these people are making bad decisions. And when they make a bad decision, they should be held account for it, in my opinion, because it affects people get relegated for it. So, yeah, I mean, they've got to come out and just be a bit more clear about what's going on. I like the idea of using the screen a bit more this year. I've noticed that sort of started to come into the game, starting to go over to the screen to double check, which should have been the case last year. But yeah, I just think if it's even not the referee's got to come out, maybe someone else could come out, the head of the referees, whatever, and just come out and just say, this is what was the decision.
Not even come out and say at the end of the game. Like, obviously managers, players have to do that, and occasionally refs do. Maybe not even coming out at the end of the game, like other sports do it. Mic them up.
Yeah, mic them up.
Like,
yeah.
You can talk about, there's going to be bad language, but what referees in rugby are mic'd up. One, it helps with it would help with VAR, because we could hear the discussions. We could see what's going on there. It would create some sort of clarity with that. But we'd also, a lot of things get explained to the captain of a team.
Well, they do it in NFL. They do it in tennis.
But the difference is, in all those sports, the referees and umpires and officials are well respected, whereas they're not. The referees in English game, they've got one of the toughest jobs in football. To be a referee must be fucking awful, because every game you go into, that one way or another, you're going to give a decision and thousands of people are either going to be for you or against you. Every week you go into that. And it's not the easiest thing to get it right every time. But the fact is, they're making too many mistakes over and over again. And you're right. I don't like the fact that now we've got Stockley Park. All it ever seems to be is the referee on the pitch will make the mistake, but then they'll have his mate or an ex-referee sitting in the studio and they'll ask them about it. Well, it's got nothing to do with them. They weren't on the pitch at the time to make that decision. They get the opportunity to look at the many replays and hear what's being said at Stockley Park and how they've come to that decision. The referee on field is looking at a game in real time. Therefore, if he makes a dodgy decision and Stockley Park don't go against that dodgy decision, he himself should have to come out and explain why he made the decision he did. And if he knows he messed up, he should come out and say, look, I made the call in real time during the game because that's what I thought it was. I've spoken to Stockley Park. They've told me that we're going to go with your on-field decision. But now looking back at it myself after the game, I do think that I've made a mistake, or I do think that I should have given something different.
Do you think that's an excuse now? With the on-field screen, he can't now come out and say, "Well, after the game, I now think it's something different," because the screen's there mid-game. So referees coming out and explaining their decision is all well and good, but they've got all the advantages there not to get anything wrong. So if they do come out and say they've got it wrong, then they're either pinning the blame on themselves and saying, "I'm not a good referee," or they're pointing the blame at their mate in Stockley Park, saying that they're not very good and they're not doing their job. So it is
Be a man. We
just want a decision. Yeah, just come out and say this is why you made a decision. You don't have to say I've got it wrong. You just say this is how I came to this decision, and at the time I believed it was the right one. People make mistakes, fair enough. But
when a player volleys the ball into the roof of his own net, you don't see him coming away and he blames someone else for what happened. Do you know what I mean? If the ball gets crossed in and you volley it into your own top corner, you slice it in. You don't come out after the game and say, "Well, the bloke that was standing in front of me ducked from the cross, so I just threw my leg at it." They take ownership. Yeah, like I fucking slice it into the net.
No, but I think that's quite different though to what the referees are doing.
It's taking responsibility for a mistake. That's all they need to do.
The referee can pause it and then actually redo that mistake.
But
I can't if I boot into my own net.
The on-field referee doesn't go to Stockley Park, get a decision from them, and say, "Actually, guys in Stockley Park, I'm going to go look at the monitor." The guys in Stockley Park will say to him, "We've had a look at it and we don't really know." So they're the ones that send him to look at the monitor. So not every time is he going to be sent to rectify his decision. It should the referee on field should always be the one that has the full and final say, regardless of Stockley Park, regardless of the monitor. It should always be the on-field referee that makes the final decision.
There was the penalty for against Chelsea against United with Aspilicueta getting felled by Harry Maguire. They decided within a matter of seconds that wasn't being looked at. Who's making that decision? Who's deciding that? Who's sitting in that? I want to know who's made that decision. I want to know who's come out and say, "Yeah, this is why we made the decision. We didn't think it was okay, fair enough." But we want to know how you made that decision. How have you decided after a few seconds that's not a penalty? How have you not looked at it? I don't understand.
Absolutely.
The Pickford situation. How have you not decided that needs a thorough look at it and we need to come back to a decision? Come out and explain your decisions, or have the mic in Stockley Park. Explain the decisions, not quiet, not muted. Have it in the mic in there so you can hear them, what they're saying and why they're making that decision.
Why can't they have a camera in Stockley Park? Why can't there be a camera on those guys sitting at that desk in Stockley Park with the cameras in front of them? And when it says it's gone to Stockley Park and the ref's got to make a decision and the game's stopped, why can't they switch the camera so we can see exactly what they're looking at and exactly what they're talking about for that 2-3 minutes, however long it is?
Because they're all wearing Liverpool shirts, mate.
You want to calm down, mate?
They're all wearing United shirts, aren't they?
I kind of get the impression
I
kind of get an impression it's to protect them from abuse, which I do get. They do get a lot of abuse, and obviously they don't deserve it because they're trying to do a job. So I get that, and I think it's sort of trying to protect them at grassroots level as well, because if it sets a bad precedent, if you can just sort of abuse someone, a referee online, it would just trickle down into the grassroots football and Sunday League.
That's never going to change though, because even with everything that's going on, the ones that on a Sunday and a Saturday are still going to get heckled abuse. They always have done. They always will do. But I think where you can definitely control it, and where you can control it are the big teams, and certainly in the Premier League and Champions League.
No, but even then, you talk about like them getting abuse. They're going to get it from fans regardless. Players get it from fans. It's part and parcel of the job that they do, and they make that choice. If a player it's in the rule book that if you get abused as a ref, you book or send that player off. Reece James got sent off for shouting at the ref or swearing at the ref after the game. So
I'm just talking more of a spotlight on like online abuse and stuff like that. So maybe a little bit of protection from there. But they still, I know they still get it, but maybe it'd be more intensive. I mean, I'm a fan of them coming out and explaining, but I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, absolutely. But you do see some referees who almost not necessarily own it, but you can definitely see people who are a bit showman-like and almost revel in the controversy. You do get the Mike Deans, you do even get Clattenburgs who almost want to be the spotlight on them. When they make a mistake, why aren't they then not seen for a week or two off TV? They're always back on the next week. Yes, some occasionally will get put to fourth official, but you never see them after making a big mistake or anything like that have any repercussion at all. And I think that's probably the worst thing is not only are they not coming out and addressing any situation, fine, they don't need to do it. It's not something they've ever done, but certainly have at least repercussions to say, look, they've made X amount of mistakes this week, which have cost people points. They've got things wrong.
If you get
maybe not necessarily fine, but certainly
they should. Red cards and yellow cards. You get fined.
If you made that many mistakes in your job, you would find, you'd get it in the ear. These people just seem to go, right, well, that's that match done. On to the next one, and it's clean slate.
I think it should be a punishment.
They get taken off. They get taken off for a week.
We don't have a massive pool to choose from. The amount of games that you've got in the Premier League, you don't have a massive pool to choose from. But then do you look down to referees that are refereeing in the Championship and think maybe one of them deserves a shot? Do you know what I mean? There's a tier system when it comes to the referees as well. You've got the so-called elite referees in the country, and then the not so elite that just go through the lower leagues and referee those games. Like, do you look at Mike Dean making a mistake twice in 2 weeks in 2 games and think, you know what, we're going to drop him, but then you lose a referee for the next round of fixtures.
But
so you
does
have
he not
to
need
promote
humbling?
someone.
If he just keeps getting away with it, he's going to get bigger and bigger and think that I'm untouchable. And if my decision, you are the referee, your decision goes. But there's a
but
way
just
you
because
can,
he makes mistakes doesn't mean he's a bad referee.
Everyone, by definition,
mistakes.
surely.
Everyone
makes
makes
he's doing it
mistakes.
because this league is.
Everyone makes mistakes. What we're saying is, when you make a mistake, don't hide behind other people and other things. Come out and say, do you know what? I made a mistake. It was a mistake, but it happened. It was in real time on the pitch. I was told this by Stockley Park. This is the conversation we had. This is why we came to that decision. But in hindsight, looking back on it now, it was a mistake. I apologise. I'm sorry for that mistake. There's always nothing is ever going to be perfect in the game of football. You're never going to have a whole season where referees don't make mistakes, players don't make mistakes, managers don't make mistakes. It's never going to happen. It's all about ownership.
Why can't the referee's report be published? We see the game. Everyone knows what's going on. So why is it such a secret, this referee's report after the game? Like, it's got to be hidden away. I've seen the game. You've seen it. Millions of people have seen the game, and everyone knows what's happened on a football pitch. So why can't we see the referee's report and say, well, this is exactly in writing. This is exactly what I thought, and this is why I come out decision. Don't have to come out on TV and have an interview, but some sort of clarity on it would be great, because people know what's going on. We're not stupid, and fans aren't stupid. We know the game. It's not like they've got these secret ideas.
All we do really is berate referees and just talk about the mistakes they made and how shit they are. If they come out, or someone came out, like you said, these reports, and we knew what was going on and how these decisions come to, whether we agree with it or not, you have to garner a sort of respect for them for doing that in the first place. But that's where it needs to start from there.
That's what I'd say. It'll be educating, because at the end of the day, what you also have to appreciate is there's a lot more interpretation, and the rules aren't as black and white as they were 15, 20 years ago. So it's a harder job. It's harder than ever because of that, because of the spotlight in terms of abuse on social media. Like, there's all these platforms for them to get abused. So just be a bit more be more transparent, and people will respect it. They're never going to always agree with you, but if people understand, people are educated on the rules, it's going to take a bit of the slack off them, I think.
No, actually, I think that's a fantastic point.
Some of the blame really rests at the door of the rule makers, because they're coming up with these bullshit handball rules that we're seeing this season, or the silly interpretations of offside that no one seems to get down to a T. So it seems like it would make it worse for the referees, but in the overall picture, grand scheme of things, in the long run as well, it would make it much better, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. Talking about referee decisions, and in Europe we saw one given for Chelsea midweek. But one thing I wanted to touch on, especially in Europe, is Rangers currently. Who would have thought, when Rangers came back from the brink of death, that they would be disappointed with the 3-3 draw with Benfica? Yes, Benfica had a man sent off, but it just goes to show how far they're coming. Even last season, they had a good run. Gerrard seems to be doing a good job up there. We've spoken about Scottish football before on this podcast. How do you think the race is going on up in Scotland? Connor, obviously you've got ties up there. Is the balance of power changing now?
Be careful.
Yeah, I know. I need to watch what I say here, but no. Look, as a football fan in general, Celtic haven't been great this year by a long, long stretch. If I'm honest, they haven't been great for a couple of years. I don't really rate Neil Lennon as a manager. I don't. They've gone from Brendan Rodgers basically back a step down again. I know it's hard to get Rodgers is a quality manager, and for a team in Scotland, Celtic and Rangers are huge clubs, but it is going to be hard for them to maybe draw some of your bigger name managers down there. But to go from Lennon up to Rodgers, have all that success under Rodgers, and then go back to Lennon, you can just see the players remain the same. A majority of them all played under Rodgers still, but it just seems to be a lack of, I don't know, ideas, quality. He had Odsonne Edouard up front for Celtic last year, banging in goals left, right and centre, struggling for form this year. And I think Gerrard's just slowly gone about his business over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of pressure in that job because everyone expects all of a sudden that Rangers should just be challenging Celtic every year again. And it's a slow process. It's a build for him. And I think he's bought well. He's been backed by the owners. He's brought in the players that he wants, and it seems to be paying off. They seem to have a bit of an identity about them, especially like you said in these European games. They're flying in the Europa League. They had a great run in the Europa League last year, and I think I read something the other day. Scotland are now getting 2 Champions League places for next year, whereas they only had the one for qualification. So that's a big bonus for him as well. And if things carry on the way they are, I think they'll run away with the league and potentially get a couple of cups under their belt and could go quite far in Europe as well.
Well, there's good stats with Gerrard. The defence looks really tight at the back, and they look to be, free scoring up front. But I wanted to, as you say, that it's hard to bring someone up to Scotland because, all the big names, all the money is in England or it's elsewhere in Europe. But one of the names that's been continuously linked is Eddie Howe. Do you think he could have a similar, time up there as Rodgers did, where you don't want to say it, but almost be a stepping stone for him then to bounce back into the Premier League?
Me and Jamie spoke about it a few days ago. I think when Leicester were playing, we were talking about Rodgers. And I think going to Celtic was such a good step for him because it breeds a winning mentality. You go up there and you're winning league after league after league, and winning trophies at any level breeds confidence, and it improves you as a manager. You've got to be a half-decent manager to win leagues and to manage a team over a season, and get performance out of everyone, and continuously win cups, continuously get them hungry again for next season. Like they won back-to-back, was it like 3 titles in a row under Rodgers?
Yeah, one undefeated.
They did treble twice in a row. Like to get a team hungry to do that every year. Yeah, I know it's Celtic, and I know they should be doing it up there because they've got the best team. But it helps breed a confidence in you, and I feel like it's changed Rodgers as a manager. He came back with a bit of a swagger, gone into Leicester confident, and obviously you can see the rewards of Leicester getting it right now. And yeah, maybe Eddie Howe could be good. I mean, I think Scottish football needed Rangers to get their act together, because now I've got one eye on the Scottish game, whereas the last few years I couldn't care less, to be perfectly honest. No disrespect, but there's just nothing that interests me up there without a title race. So finally it's like, okay, now I'm interested again. Now it's exciting to watch Scottish football, because I did enjoy it back in the day. They had some great teams, unbelievable sides. It used to challenge in Europe, so it was nice. It would be nice to see him get back to that kind of level, and have that competition up there.
Yeah, no, I think for what obviously you have to remember, Celtic have won the league 9 years in a row. So without the resources, and as we've said, as you boys have just said there, without the competition, they've had no need to kick on. They can't attract the big names, as you say, to try and press on a bit in Europe and become a better European team and maybe qualify for the knockout stages of a Champions League. They can't do that. So they've just stagnated, and it's hard not to get complacent because they've just had no one challenging them. And on the complete flip side of it, Rangers are very, very hungry. They felt hard done by when they obviously got put down the leagues. They've worked their way back. They've brought in a brand new manager who's obviously hungry and wants to prove himself and do all this. So you've just got 2 clubs that, not mentality wise, but in terms of hunger and drive, they're just on different trajectories. And it might take something like a Rangers run of form, maybe even Rangers winning something off of Celtic this year, might be a good thing for Celtic. It might actually give the club a kick up the arse, whether it be a change of manager, change of staff, whatever. It might be a good thing for them.
Eddie Howe's an interesting one, though. I like that idea, because take nothing away from them, Celtic are a big club, regardless of what league they play in. They're a huge club, huge fan base. So for Eddie Howe to go up there and manage that kind of team, get that experience could maybe potentially help him kick on in the Premier League, because it's been talked about a big move for ages and kind of just, like Jamie just said, stagnated almost at Bournemouth, and it kind of just got dry in the end, and he's been moved out, and it's like, oh, where does he go from here? So a move even abroad, anywhere, to a club, to get some experience behind him at a bigger club, and then come back to the Premier League, and who knows, maybe he could pick up a job at Tottenham, and Arsenal, Chelsea, whatever jobs available at the time, and have a chance of managing a bigger side in the Premier League.
The difference
He's a
is,
good
I think,
manager.
if he goes to Celtic, the difference with him going there and going to maybe abroad elsewhere to other sort of bigger clubs is Celtic are expected to win every game. Celtic are expected to win week in, week out, win every trophy available, whereas at other teams, you've got a little bit of leeway when you play certain teams. But at a team like Celtic, if you don't win, even a draw for them is a poor result, and it's seen to be like the players haven't tried and they're not doing good enough. I think that experience for someone like Eddie Howe, who, like you said, is already a good manager, we know he is. I think the experience of being at a team that's expected to win every week and having to push yourself and push the players to get to that point will be vital for someone like Eddie Howe.
Yeah. He'd go in there with that similar mentality to Gerrard. He'd be going to a club where, you're expected to win, but you have a chance to win. You got a chance to win trophies, win titles, win cups. And for a manager who's not really done that and has just had 2 jobs, and one in particular obviously stayed there for a long, long time, that would rejuvenate him mentally. Whereas the Lennon move, it was a backward step. There's no two ways about it, not just in terms of quality, but you are literally returning to a manager that you had previously, did well for you. And it would be hard for him not to just kind of walk back into the job and expect to just keep it rolling as it was. And it's obviously not working out like that at the moment.
No, I think one of the biggest things at Celtic, and I think you see it around other European leagues where it's just mainly one team winning it, is not just winning the league, it's how you win, it's how you are a champion. Last year Celtic won it, yes, but they crawled over the line because Rangers ran out of steam. If you want to be a champion at Celtic, especially the last 10 years, you have to win it as a champion, not just crawling over the line or just getting by. You need to, embrace it and be it. And that's why Brendan Rodgers probably had a bit of an ego, because he went to Celtic. He didn't just walk across the line. An unbeaten season, 2 trebles. These are big things that are only going to do. He was a champion up there.
He doesn't get enough credit for that invincible season. Everyone always says, but it's the Scottish League and Celtic are the best team and they're always going to win the league. When was the last time they went unbeaten before that in a league season? They were still losing games. They were still losing cup finals. Rodgers went in there and implemented his style straight away and almost fired a rocket up the players. And every week they were coming out and just spanking everyone. They never looked like getting beat.
The only thing you can fault him on is probably Europe. I mean, I think
100%.
That's somewhere. That's something that Celtic managers and in the past Rangers managers were judged on, is how do you perform in Europe? Because you are expected from the league.
He didn't have great luck with like some of the group stages he went in. Like they had Man City and PSG at one point.
You say that
funny, but you're not expecting.
They've had Barcelona before. They've had Barcelona before 10 years ago.
They drew 3-3 with City.
They may not get out the group stage, but beating Barcelona 1-0 by Tony Watt scoring. They're probably going away, and they're actually happy with that.
In one-off games, they could probably do something, and they could probably sort of nick a result and get a result in one-off games. But in Europe, it's not like that. The group stage, you play each team twice, so you've got the chance to get absolutely spanked by these top boys.
It should be a minimum, though. Go on, Jake, go on.
I was just going to say, it's very easy for a team like Celtic to motivate themselves in games, the Barca games and stuff like that. It's when they come up against teams that are a similar level, where the level drops, the crowd might not be quite as good. Like Clive Tilsley said about that being one of the best atmospheres he plays in. So, and as I said earlier, they just don't have the resources to improve their squad to a level to be better in the Champions League. It's just it's a bit of an endless cycle for teams of that sort of level.
There's no money up there, so they're all selling clubs. As soon as they get players that are half decent or good, they get sold.
They're not expected to compete in the Champions League, though. Like, compete in the Europa League, I think. You've got to make it out of the group stage. I think that's the yardstick, really, is can you compete in that second-tier competition? That should be the aim, really, for a team like Celtic or Rangers, is to compete at least in the Europa League and maybe reach a knockout stages, and who knows. But, Champions League, they're not expected to. They haven't got the resources, like you're saying. It's a hard competition.
Not get thumped 4-1 at home by a team missing their number one goalkeeper and their star player.
Yeah.
think that concludes the Celtic and Rangers chat quite nicely, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And just before we do move on to our Pierre la Distance, if that's how it's said in France.
Del Boy over it.
Yeah.
Over the week, do you boys have anything you wanted to just speak about that you've seen throughout the week? Good, bad, funny, and different?
Do you know what? I actually saw something and I was meant to make a note of it so I could bring it to the podcast. I don't remember the little girl's name. But a little girl's been doing a challenge to do like 7 million kick-ups.
Oh, I saw this.
Oh, I see.
Over a period of time, and she completed it the other day in a little England top. And I just thought something like that's really, really nice. She was really young, but imagine that 7 million kick-ups.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I can't even fathom it. It's unreal.
I read something funny. It's probably quite a well-known story because it's from a long time ago, but literally about 10 minutes before we come on, I read a story that Johan Cruyff had told about when he was boss at Barcelona about Romario.
Oh, yeah.
Romario had turned around to him and said, "Oh, boss, I want to go back to Brazil for Carnival. Can I skip training for a few days and go back for Carnival?" And apparently he said, "Right, you score 2 tomorrow, and you can go." And they had El Clasico, and he scores 2 in the first 20 minutes. Turns around to Johan Cruyff and says, "Boss, take me off. My plane leaves in an hour." I thought that was quite funny. Probably quite well known.
Wish Maradona well in his recovery. That was pretty sketchy during the week. So yeah, hopefully he recovers well. Bit of a legend.
Dealer.
And
thank you, dealer.
So does his dealer.
Oh, we said thank you, dealer.
And just we do move on. Marseille broke a record for the most consecutive losses in the Champions League, and Andre Villas-Boas came out and said it's one to be shit in the Champions League, but it's good to be shit in the Champions League rather than be shit outside of the Champions League. He's actually been going back and forth with journalists for a while. He's been asking journalists, "Why are you talking to me about tactics?" In which their response have been, "Because you're doing poorly." So, AVB, mate.
He's got a point.
What a legend.
Yeah, mate, a Premier League powerhouse.
No,
that's just me talking about AVB. Never liked him.
AVB's got a special place in my heart, to be fair. Because if he wasn't sacked, we would never won a Champions League. So, cheers, mate. You keep being shit.
And if you're listening, come down. We'll have you on Zoom.
I thought you were going to say stop copying my beard.
Are you Jay or AWB?
No, you've got a ginger beard, mate.
Mahogany brown. They know. On to the last segment, which is we haven't done an 11 for a while. And this one, I think it's a good one. It's a good debate. There's a lot of names I threw up, and I know a couple of you boys probably would as well. We're thinking about the overpriced 11. Premier League based only. As long as they played in Premier League and Premier League club have bought them, we are now going to put them into an 11. Now, to me, I don't know anyone of the boys' 11s. Do you boys know anyone's 11s?
No. So
we're just going to be discussing one by one who we've got, and then going to decide the most overpriced 11 the Premier League has ever seen. Are we going to worry about formation just yet, or are we going to read out our 11s?
Why don't we just do? We'll go keepers. We'll all do it. Defenders. We'll all do it. Go that way instead of whole teams. It might be easier.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think keeper-wise, I think we'll probably all be a unanimous vote on Kepa Arrizabalaga for Chelsea. 71 million. Come in.
No.
And
no. Sorry.
And let's just say he's had one decent season, and then it's just been.
Has he?
Like a road runner, just slipped down. I was
going
to go.
Where do you have a decent season?
First season was
quite fair. First season was decent.
I heard Thomas Muller calls him Robert Letin-Golski. Yeah,
I was going to go Craig Gordon at first because he was bought for record fee. Record fee.
Gordon.
And then he had a year, 18 months good spell, and then he got injured, and you never saw him again.
Big Craig.
And it was a big fee as well. Arsenal were looking at him when Lehman retired, and he went to Sunderland the year after, and he retired for a bit and then just ended up at Celtic out of nowhere.
I can't think of too many flop keepers. Pickford's on his way. How much did he cost?
30 mil.
30 million. Pickford, yeah.
I thought about Tiabi for 4.5 mil. That was about 45 mil too much.
Oh, big Massimo Tiabi.
Rolled the ball through his own legs and dusted off into the sunset.
How much did we spend on Mignolet?
Too much.
About 13, 14 million, something like that, wasn't it?
Too much.
We lost Rain at the time as well.
Yeah,
But I kind of feel a bit bad putting Kepa in because he's still relatively young. I don't think he has a future at Chelsea anymore. So he's overpriced. But if he mans up a bit, look at De Gea. He was awful first season, and then
we don't deal in doubts and maybes, Dan. We deal in absolutes.
No, absolutely.
Right now, my man is an overpriced goalkeeper.
There's no doubt in my mind he'll go to Man City in 2 years' time and become the best keeper in the world. But for right now, the guy is infuriating. And I think it's right he's been taken out the spotlight. I think he said he's got a shoulder injury, but I don't buy it. I think it's a thing of taking him out the spotlight and giving that guy a bit of time to get his mind. I will say this about him, because I found out something, and I don't know how true it is, but I did find out that his girlfriend of 8 years was cheating on him. And that it wasn't sort of their mental. So there could be outside factors. So maybe it's good for the kid to sort of get away from the spotlight and take some time to get back. If it was good to
bury that again.
Oh, that's crass. Go on.
I could have been Giggs, all right. We could have been Giggs.
Oh.
No,
allegedly.
He'd only beat her up.
Allegedly.
Whoa.
Don't get sued.
Whoa. It's not Keown.
Allegedly. And onto the defence, as you brought up Mark Keown. I've got three at the back. All from Manchester, all of them Manchester teams. Stones, Mangala, and Maguire. That's what I've gone for.
So have
I actually took Stones out for similar reasons to what you just said with Kepa. Like, he could still go on and do a bit. I put Mangala, Maguire, and Mustafi for Arsenal.
Yeah,
what that is to earn a £35 million move, I'll never know, because he is certified.
Well, what did John Stones do to do 50 million? Pass out from the back of it at Everton.
Semi-final World Cup 2008. Come on.
I've gone 4 at the back, but I had 5 defenders, so I had to cut one out. And the one I cut out, I still believe is overpriced, but I do actually think he's not a bad player. I just don't think he was worth the money that was paid for him.
Who?
Wan-Bissaka.
I knew you were going to say that.
I rate Wan-Bissaka highly, but I think 50 million.
You
is
hate
overpriced.
Palace right backs, don't you? Wan-Bissaka, Joel Ward the other week.
I literally just said I like Wan-Bissaka. I actually think he's a decent player. Again, he's still young, and in 10 years' time, when you look back, you might think that 50 mil was a snip. But when they made that deal happen for 50 mil, I thought it was too much money to be paying for a player like Wan-Bissaka, personally.
These are the views of Connor Hacken, not from the Terrace. Your other three in the back four there, Connor?
The same, Otamendi, Maguire, Stones.
Otamendi?
Yeah.
How much was he?
Who's playing left back?
I didn't have a left back. I've just gone for 4 defenders.
Oh, it's very unbalanced.
Prove it.
I would have gone Mendy, if anything, if you're going to do a back four.
Otamendi was overpriced.
We're not sending this 11 out to play in a real game.
Do you know what I mean?
Just saying, mate. I've got Football Manager up right now. I've got it out right now.
Yeah,
we're playing a diamond at the
back. Midfield, I think, is probably going to be most interesting because I think there's quite a few names there that people not forget about, but they don't come to mind straight away. So I'm going to start with the 3 in midfield, the 3 central midfielders first. And I've gone for Juan Sebastian Veron, Alberto Aquilani, and Paulinho for Spurs.
You got 2 of my 3.
You got 1 of mine.
I've got 1 more in there. I've got Aquilani and Veron.
But the player you thought you were buying and then just never arrived, both you and Chelsea.
I've got Bakayoko in mine.
Oh, you slack.
Yeah.
I put Bakayoko because I thought you were going to put Drinkwater.
Oh, he could go in there as well.
I've Drinkwater's my other one.
And Mutu.
Drinkwater.
No spoilers, Dan. The striker's not yet.
I went Bakayoko, Pogba, and Fred.
Yeah, I've got Pogba in mind. Pogba, Drinkwater, and Veron.
The reason why I like the Fred one, I thought about it myself, is the fact that with Veron, especially, you could understand the fee that was paid both times. Fred done absolutely nothing other than in the Ukrainian league to quantify the amount United actually paid for him, which I can understand why.
I know. Dan was winding me up last night about him. He was like, "Oh, he runs about a bit. He tackles. He's like, you're not paying 50 million quid for someone to run. Do me a favour." I sound like Roy Keane now. But...
That's the modern game, baby. That's the modern game.
Do me a favour. Oh.
Come on.
No, he's never been a £50 million player. It's frightening.
So who are we going to agree on there for the midfield three?
Man, 40 million. I think he played about 4 games. I can't remember what happened to the geezer. He is terrible. We can't sell him. We can't sell a 40 million pound player. We can't get rid of the geezer.
Just loan him out like everyone else you do.
Him and Drinkwater are quite the pair. I think they were signed the same season, but
based on I think based on numbers, it's Bakayoko, Pogba, and Varane, isn't it?
Yeah, well, are we going to just skip past the Pogba name? Are we going to have a little bit, he was brought in to help Man United win the league. First season, finished 6th.
Well, then, I've got a little surprise for you. Here's Graham Souness.
Honest question, have you ever seen Paul Pogba for 6-7 games, consecutive 8 out of 10 performances at Man United?
He had a spell
Not Man United, no.
He had a spell last year of decent performances. I wouldn't say consistently 8 out of 10, no. I think it was a period where he was doing all right.
So I'm always going to have to stick Pogba in there.
He's got all the talent to be a fucking class player. He just doesn't have.
Well, that's the thing. Is it attitude? Is it just the fact that United? Is his mind too good for the Man United players around him? In the fact that he sees a pass and Luke Shaw running doesn't see the same thing, or would it just be the fact that it could be his attitude?
He's lazy. He's entitled. I just don't like his attitude. Maybe I'm seeing something different to what they're seeing, but I don't rate the guy.
Like a midfield Balotelli.
Yeah. I've defended him for a long time, but it's coming to a head. He's been there 4 years now, and as we've said, he's had no consistent run of form.
Do you think United bought him at the wrong time, in the sense that when he was at Juventus, he had Pirlo, Vidal next to him, 2 players who knew exactly what they were doing, and he was the young X factor almost. And when United brought him in, they didn't realise that he actually was still probably a bit raw in the sense of his footballing IQ and mind.
I think it's the opposite. I think we bought him at the perfect time. It should have been a time where he's learned off of those players that he was with at Juve and was ready to step into the cauldron and be the main man. But it seems like he took on the mentality of the main man without actually playing like it. It's like he just took the fame that came with it, and that was
not
about
the responsibility.
He's not. You know, I said it before. The kid, he needs to knuckle down and get back to basics. Because he's a very, very good footballer. We could easily sit here in 5 years and say he is a £90 million footballer if he wants us to. I don't think he's watching, but you never know.
It might be.
But yeah.
And moving on to wingers. I've kind of been struck for 2 on one of them. So I've got Di Maria on one side. And then on the other, both signed by Chelsea, Cuadrado and Sean Wright-Phillips.
Oh, whoa.
Sean Wright-Phillips was bought in for big money, especially at the time. Big money, especially at the time.
Do not disrespect SWP. SWP was fighting with great players for positions, man. SWP was quality.
Joe Cole.
That's why he went back to the City and then never seen. He flew off to... He then decided to be the second best Wright-Phillips in New York.
Listen, Sean Wright-Phillips was a class player on his day, man. He was class.
Yeah, all these players were.
Yeah, but he weren't overpriced.
Yeah,
I think for 22 million back in 2007, that was big money.
I don't know. I'm thinking those picks, they're flops. Di Maria flopped, but he wasn't overpriced. He was worth
the money they paid. He just didn't perform.
And Wright-Phillips was worth a lot of money when he was coming through. Cuadrado was a very good player. They flopped. They're big flops. Well, no, Wright-Phillips ain't a big flop, but I wouldn't call him overpriced. I went for Pepe and Iwobi. Iwobi for 45
million.
To Everton. Fucking hell.
Jesus, 45, that's how much it was?
45 million they paid to Arsenal for him. He's toilet. Lives off his uncle's name, mate. He is terrible.
I had Di Maria and maybe I went about it a different way. I was kind of going more expensive flops, but I had Di Maria and Robinho.
I got him up front.
Yeah, I think when he came in, he was like they nicked him off us. We was like on the verge of signing him. I think we were sending shirts for him, and he was like this big hoorah about him. And that geezer did nothing. Nothing. I think he scored a free kick against us, and that was it. I can't remember him doing anything of note.
I think he scored like 10 goals, all of which in the first 6 months, and then after the January, he just disappeared.
Scored a lovely goal against Arsenal, I remember.
Yeah, nice little chip.
Dinked it over.
But he was next big thing at one point, and never really saw him again. I think he kind of got his money and went off.
Yeah. And then up top, I've got 2 strikers, one of which was Robinho.
I've got 3 number 9s.
Oh. Did you not have any wingers?
Nah.
Oh.
My team's not balanced, mate. It's just full of.
You got a diamond at the bank.
Just centre back.
No wingers. New pet, mate.
So Billaroo's for Chelsea wore number 9. He could have him on top.
I didn't even when I was thinking about my 11. I was going through the list of players, and players' names were just appearing, and I was like, "Yeah, he's got to go in. He's got to go in." And then I was like, "Oh, maybe I should put like wingers in and just do it like a natural thing." And I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." All these guys were overpriced flops. My 3 up front, I've gone for Andy Carroll.
Yep.
Christian Benteke.
Yeah.
And I've gone for Shevchenko.
I've got Shevchenko.
Yeah, I put Shevchenko, but I think Jay's point of with the Di Maria one is that he wasn't actually overpriced. He was just a flop.
Yeah,
but I think the age he was at. I think Shevchenko was at an age where he was already on the decline when they signed him. He wasn't at the peak of his powers.
Crespo as well at the
whoa, no,
when he was signed for
he's got a lovely goal at JJB Stadium. I remember that.
What someone I did have was Franny Jeffers.
Franny
Jeffers at Arsenal. He was signed for big money.
No, Wenger said he was
just a young Egyptian.
Wenger said he was addicted to scoring.
Christian Benteke is the biggest flop because he got a £30 million move to Liverpool, and then somehow from Liverpool he got a £30 million move to Palace. The dude's a 60 million striker, and he scored 10 goals in like 5 years.
Well, put Morata in there then, because look at the fees he's on for.
He was also bad.
He was £1 million for every offside.
Yeah.
So about
Jay, that joke. Did you not learn your lesson on Instagram on that joke? With big Kevin Comfy.
I hope he's not listening, Jesus. He'll be commenting on this. My front 2 could actually be a partnership right now. I did Andy Carroll and I put Joe Linton.
Oh yeah.
That's not a bad shout.
40 million, wasn't it?
£40 million for him.
You could have look at Joe at Man City. He was bought for 20 million. Didn't do absolutely anything to see.
I actually looked at Joe.
He was there for 3 seasons. He went out on loan to Everton twice and scored 1 league goal. And he cost about £20 million.
Yeah. I mean, I like what Jay. I mean, I think I kind of went it about the wrong way. I was looking more expensive flops. So if we're going to be overpriced,
it needs to be people that didn't warrant their transfer fee.
Kepa can go in because I don't know how he warranted a £70 million move. I don't think he's done anywhere near enough in the game.
Yeah.
Stones, yeah. Mangala,
yeah.
Maguire,
yeah. I'd happily go with that as a back 3, yeah.
Midfield, we're going. By that argument, Pogba.
Pogba's in.
Was he overpriced though? If he was.
Yeah, I mean, it depends really because the commercial value for him.
And at the time, he was one of the best midfielders in the world.
And he's probably paid his transfer fee back in shirt sales, probably.
Do you know what makes him
the shirt
overpriced?
sales money or Adidas?
Definitely.
What makes him overpriced is that United sold him for nothing and then had to pay 89 million or whatever it was to buy him back. That's what makes him overpriced.
Yeah.
Bakayoko, I mean, one good season in France, 40 million's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's terrible.
We paid less for Fabinho.
Yeah.
And on that,
thanks for that, mate. Cheers.
I'd probably put my flag up for Fred.
I like Fred. He runs about.
I don't mind Fred. Yeah, you wind it. I know you winding me up.
Fred, Bakayoko, and
wait. So what formation are we playing next? We went 3 centre backs. We'll be going 3-3-4.
3-5-2.
I've gone 3-5-2 as well.
Yeah,
my one.
I did. Yeah.
So Bakayoko, we've got Pogba, Fred, and then the two wingers will be.
You both had Di Maria, to be fair.
But I agree with your point. I don't think he was overpriced when he was.
Was Quadrado
60 million
overpriced?
Potentially.
Because
Quadrado was like 20 million, 25 million.
Was he? I thought he was 30 in his 30s.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I think Pepe for 72 and Iwobi for 45.
Yeah, Pepe especially because he's the only game time he's getting now starting is in the Europa League for Arsenal.
He's flash.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weird one. Could kind of try and put Veron in the wing.
Stuart Downey for 20 million.
I was going to say Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain for Liverpool.
No,
40 million for less than 12 months on his contract. And he's been injured for... He's been there, 3-4 years. He's been injured for 6 of them.
Who do you think you are coming for the Ox?
Just someone who would love to watch him play but can't because he never plays.
How dare you come for the Ox, man?
He's good at dancing.
You leave that man alone. Let him and Perry live their lives in peace, God damn it.
They can't. They're all over TikTok.
Yeah, and that's where they're
we
at
knew
peace.
she was on TikTok. We knew it was.
I'm not on TikTok at all. I'm happy with the wingers, actually. I'm quite happy with Iwobi and Pepe. I think it makes sense for the overpriced. Yeah. I think Jamie's the only one that's done this correctly.
Yeah. I think, up top, Carroll, you'd have to go.
We all might have had that.
With the second striker, I think that's where the probably debate comes because I can understand the Benteke one, but at the same time, Benteke was ripping up in the Premier League, and for someone to be doing
at that time, he was not ripping it up enough.
He helped Villa. He helped Villa stay up for 2 seasons.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
the Liverpool move,
30 million was a big deal.
Yeah, I can understand the Palace move, but still, you think you're getting a player who I don't think was overpriced. Yeah, I don't think we should have paid the money. I think there are other players there that when you look at their age,
if you don't think we should have paid the money, then you must believe that we overpaid. Therefore, he's overpriced.
Yeah, overpriced by about 5 million, not by the 30 million.
Hearing the words Benteke and ripping it up just sounds mad to me.
Yeah, now it does.
Right.
But he was.
He should be ripping up. He should be ripping up carpet in another job because he's not a striker.
I mean, we've got quite a lot of my players here. I'm going to stick my hand up for Joe Linton again, to be fair. But no, I'll go with you, boys.
We might as well just go Jay's 11, shall we? Because he's the only one that's got it right.
No.
So we're going for the last striker.
Who's going up top with Carroll?
I'd go Robinho because I think they'd complement each other well as well. Big man, little man, cardboard box.
Yeah, I'm happy to stick Robinho in there.
Yeah.
But you had him as a winger, didn't you? Or someone did?
I did originally, yeah.
There you go. Two of you
interchangeable, that front lot. Interchangeable.
Oh, yeah.
Robinho,
Pepe and Iwobi. I can see them getting in each other's way, yeah.
Mate, you wait until Iwobi's cutting inside, mate.
Oh, what a front four. Pepe, Iwobi, Robinho, Carroll.
With Joe Linton and Benteke on the bench.
Oh.
waiting to rip it up.
Oh dear.
Christian, if you're listening, mate, come on. No, I think that's I'd say that was a good 11. I'd say that was a good 11, but
I think Joe Linton's got to go in, man. Sorry, I've got to bring it back. Joe Linton's got to go in. 14 million. He's even shit on FIFA. I had him in my team for Newcastle, man. And this guy couldn't even score against Preston. He's not a good player.
Should we just stick him up top with Carroll then? They know each other already. 100%. They're shit at Newcastle now. We might as well put them up together.
Yeah, Joe Linton's got to go in. 100%.
Can we just swap Stones for Mustafi and then we've got it there?
Yeah. There we go. There's your 11.
Yeah.
Well done, Jay.
Where do you think that 11 would finish in the Premier League?
Bottom.
They were ripping it up in the relegation zone.
I reckon they'd be worse than Derby.
Are they going to have Alan Pardew, Sam Allardyce, or David Moyes in charge?
Oh, all three.
Ooh.
All three. But it's going to start off with Pardew. Moyes is going to go in with a turbulent time. And Allardyce is just going to keep him up with the solid back four, just lumping it all the way up to Carroll and
humping it up.
Jonathan.
Humping it up to Carroll.
Got to hump it up.
With Nigel Pearson being the heavy.
Yeah.
Stuart Pearce as the assistant.
Mate, Craig Shakespeare will make his way there as well, won't he?
Oh,
Look at the English boys. Look at the English boys taking the bashing, man. Let's throw some Villas Boas in there. For the tactics.
Rene Gard.
For the
you
tactics.
always go back to those English boys though, because they're on that fucking like manager merry-go-round. They all just like it's like incest in the Premier League.
Mate, Alan Kirbishley just wants anything at the minute. It's been seen in 15 years.
Is he still doing? Is he
We're
still
even
doing
talking about
football
football.
first?
I think so.
God knows.
Big Curbs was on football first, wasn't he?
I don't think he's ever left the Sky Studio, just in case they don't call him back.
Just hanging
He's
around.
there, first reserve, always.
Studio's warm.
Just him, just following Cammy around. Cam, I'll get on or what?
I've got this joke you might want to use on Goals on Sunday. No, come here, listen.
Just have a listen.
Three English managers go into a bar. I don't know the end of it.
Well, if the people at home listening to this can think of any other players that are overpriced and think they could do a job, either against our boys or firmly slotted in, hit up the socials, hit us up. And don't forget, we've still got the Clive and You out on YouTube, which is doing record high numbers. So click on it, watch it, and say you were there.
Clive, can you retweet us as well, please, mate? You've got a chance.
It is getting a bit rude now, I'm not going to lie. And you've ignored my 5th email this week as well.
Poor.
You've ignored his invoice.
And that wraps up another show. So that's our 11 for the most overpriced team or most overpriced players in Premier League history. If you think you've got any more names to throw our way or think you can pick a worse 11, if possible, hit us up on the socials as always, from the Terrace 4, from the Terrace.4 if you're on Instagram. You can also still watch our interview with Clyde Tilsley, and also coming up, Connor has actually interviewed the throwing coach for Liverpool, Ajax, Midland and Atlanta, which will be a good, interesting watch. I've already watched it and it's fantastic, so you should too.
Great watch.
Very interesting.
And as always, stay sanitised. Peace.